what was your reaction to LeBron choosing Philly?
I mean, I was very surprised that he chose the Sixers. Now, I think when it comes to legacy wise, I thought it was when it comes to choose when he left the Lakers, like I was thinking like choosing a fourth team, whether he chose the Warriors or the Sixers. Like I thought, just legacy wise, like I just don't know if like going to a fourth team would necessarily make a whole lot of sense when it comes to that, where it comes to like wanting to go out to a new team where it's like you don't have any familiarity with. Now, like the Warriors, I think it would have made a lot more sense just given the fact that, his wife and his daughter and his, family's, mostly based in LA. Legacy wise, like he would still be going, it would be in a similar situation with the Lakers where it's like, you're going to somewhere where it's like there's already one player that already like is the main guy that already has like the fan base like in a chokehold when it comes to Steph Curry. Now with the Sixers, I do think that we bring up everybody on the roster after making the Jalen Brown trade. Like from my Shams reported today that the Sixers weren't really on LeBron's radar until they made that Jalen Brown trade. Like I don't think that when it was announced that LeBron was leaving the Lakers, I don't think that Philly was necessarily like LeBron was on LeBron's radar. When at the start of free agency, I do think there was some smoke to him going to the Warriors if they were able to work it out a trade with AD. But since they weren't able to work out a trade with AD, then that's why I think he started to look elsewhere. I do think that, if he went back to Cleveland, I think that's where I think he considered, if he went back to Cleveland, there was some rumblings in the last couple of days whether if they, were able to flip James Harden for Kyrie Irving and have a reunion with Kyrie Irving back in Cleveland. I think that there was some ability that he could have went back to Cleveland. And then, Miami just traded for Giannis. I think both of those places, like since he already had some history of both of those places, I thought he was more likely to go to either Cleveland or Miami just because he had previous history there. And I think I think it would also be a basketball. I think Miami would have also worked out basketball fit wise because they could have definitely used LeBron's playmaking ability, and they could use his scoring when he could fit in, but they could also probably get a couple guys off. They could add a couple of vet minimums guys off the bench that can score. In addition to Davion Mitchell and Wiggins, along with Bam and Giannis, like I think that could have also made sense basketball wise, and he wouldn't have to go to another team. But as far as on paper, him going to Philly does make basketball sense as far as him wanting to win. They did. The Philly did need a starting power forward, so I mean he does fit that role. At this point in his career, LeBron is a power forward. So, on paper, like I mean, that starting five does look, lethal, but I mean, at the end of the day, but when it comes to a team with, with LeBron being his age, going into, his 42, and then you have Joel Embiid, who's had a questionable health history, throughout the majority of his career where he's had trouble playing over 60 games. I don't know if there's been too many seasons where Joel Embiid's played over 60 games, throughout the time in his career. So I mean, like it's just like it's good. You're still gonna have the same question mark when it comes to him going to the Sixers. Is like you're banking on Joel Embiid's health and his own health. Philly fans should be very excited. I mean, I think it is exciting for that organization to have LeBron, to choose the Sixers to end his career there. And, I think it is something that, is going to galvanize that fan base, especially, in the last couple of years, when they've been playing the Knicks, they've had, a lot of Knicks fans, showing up to their games. So, I mean, I think now, I think this is something that, definitely re-energizes that fan base. And, they definitely should be, very hopeful about their, hopes of contending in the East. But, I just think, it's really going to be based on health and, whether, can all the, I mean, this is a lot of talent. So, I mean, but there's still only one basketball out there. So it's like, can all these guys be able to fit and coexist? And like, who's going to be the person that's going to be able to sacrifice,
I was thinking for LeBron, he was going to pick either Golden State or Cleveland just to go out on like maybe like some fun terms, but in the sense of winning basketball, both those spots are not up to standard because Golden State, even with the LeBron on their team, I don't think they'll have enough, and they're a little bit long in the tooth. And then the Cavaliers, they got good players, but it's something that happens in the playoffs to where they just don't get it done. Last season, that was the closest that they got, and they got swept. So not only got swept, but they got their asses kicked. So far as like basketball wise, I always thought that the Miami Heat made a lot of sense to where he'll naturally be their point guard. Then you got the front court obviously with Giannis and Bam, and that was going to work out great. Now for the 76ers, I was talking to a 76ers fan. Shout out to my boy Tommy Rooney. He's actually a Syracuse grad just like us. Me and him was in the same class, TRF
Got my
25.
Syracuse shirt on right now.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, there we
Let's
go.
do it.
Hey, let's go orange. Um, we was talking about we was talking about the idea of LeBron going to Philly, and then I said to him, I was like, it might be too many cooks in the kitchen because,
Hmm.
like you were saying, like it's one basketball. LeBron ball dominant. You got Tyrese Maxey who's rounding out to be that focal point of the offense on this team. Jalen Brown, he's used to being a 1A, 1B option. This year he was definitely the undisputed first option. Then you got the growth of VJ Edgecombe, and whenever Embiid comes back, he's always been their leading scorer up to this point. Well, until last season happened. So trying to figure out like how that's going to work. Like I said, who's going to sacrifice what? I can see LeBron definitely sacrificing. I think it makes sense basketball for him, so because he won't have to do much on the court, and it'd be like the first time in a while where it's not going to be on his shoulders, whether that's due to injury or just how the team is set up, the roster set up. Like those guys you mentioned, they can take over a game any at any time. They can adjust their style if the other team can't guard the perimeter. Hey, you got Maxi and VJ Edgecombe to take over. If you can go big, you got LeBron lead the way. You put LeBron at the point. Like it's a lot of moving parts on this team. And then don't forget they also signed Anthony Simons, and he's going to be the sixth man. So like, far as basketball, I feel like LeBron don't have to do too much on the court except be a leader. Like he's definitely going to be the leader of the team, and I think it's going to work out in that sense. Definitely a great move for the 76ers. This does make them title contenders right away.
Yes.
But the question is that a reality in the 2026-27 season? Now, what most basketball experts will point out, it does take a couple of years before you can develop into a championship team. And we see LeBron when he went back to the Cavaliers, when he went to the Lakers, when he went to Miami Heat, it did take him 2 years to capture a ring. So, but the thing is, LeBron looks like he only has 2 years left at maximum. So, is it fair to expect a championship this season with all that in consideration?
I mean, the thing is that when you look at all the talent on the roster, it's like championship expectations are going to come along with it. Like, I mean, if he, the reason why he came to the, I mean, the reason why LeBron chose to take up the challenge to come to the Sixers even late in his career is because he still feels that he can contribute to a championship, level team. Whether that's being, whether it's being the third, fourth, or even sometimes even the fifth option at times. And now I will say that, during the month of March, last season with the Lakers, during, you saw him like kind of him, Luka and Reeves kind of work out, to where like LeBron was able to play like the third option very well. And the Lakers only lost 2 games. I think we went 14-2 in that month of March. So I mean, he has proven that he can take a backseat role. I think Edgecombe and Jalen Brown are good. I think they have to be the main ones who set the tone as far as the perimeter defense every single night, because LeBron at this stage of his career going into year 42 is like you can't necessarily expect him to be playing, like he's not going to be playing top notch defense every night, at least during the regular season. And now Embiid, playing on the back end, he can, if he's healthy, he can definitely, be that rim protector. So, but I do think, Jalen Brown and Edgecombe are definitely going to have to, impose their will on the defensive end, on the perimeter defensive end, if the Sixers are going to be, able to be a title contender. I think that along with the health is going to be the major key. I think the main person I'm looking at is, Edgecombe is like, like how is LeBron like being on the team going to impact his development? Because Edgecombe, he was a guy that last season, like against the Celtics when they came back from 3-1, like he was a guy that was going off for 30 in the postseason. So it's like he's still a player that wants to establish himself and make a name for himself in this league. And like, he's a third overall pick, so it's like, and then you have Maxey, who's a max player. He's definitely capable of going off for 30. And I mean he can. And Maxey's a player who I think continues to raise his ceiling. He continues to raise his game year in and year out. So it's like you kind of wonder. It's like now that having LeBron's now with having LeBron's presence is like he commands a lot of that respect in that locker room. You kind of wonder is like are guys still like even with LeBron at his age and willing to take a back seat, he's still the most experienced player on the team. So it's like when push comes to shove and crunch situations, they're still going to try to lean on some of the wisdom, or they're still going to lean on LeBron to do something.
I don't think they're gonna lean on LeBron as far as like, hey, you have to do something. You have to make a play. I think that's the great thing about him going to Philly. Like he just there, in my opinion, just to be an OG. Like, of course, he gonna put up stats similar to last season, where I mean he averaged his lowest amount of points per game since his rookie season, but we also kind of see that coming. Like he's taking the backseat a little bit more and more. He's just out there for the love of the game. And I think that the pressure, because it's gonna be pressure now, like
Mm-hmm.
real pressure. Like it was pressure on them before with Jalen Brown coming in. Now it's pressure past the maximum, past the limits. I is the pressure is gonna be on Jalen Brown. Hey, you still got to put up some numbers. You're getting paid the most out of everybody. I think you asked for a change. You still got to put up MVP type numbers because I don't think LeBron is going to do that.
Because somebody's gonna have to sacrifice their scoring. Like everybody's not gonna be averaging like with all the talent on this team. It's like I think the scoring averages are probably gonna be more on the like if they're really trying to win, the scoring averages are probably gonna be down for like all these guys.
No, I definitely agree with that. Definitely, yeah. But hey, if it means a championship, we talking about there's two players on this team that their legacy will be amplified if they win a championship. Jalen Brown and Joel Embiid. Yeah, you definitely have to sacrifice. And that's the key word now with this loaded starting five, loaded roster, if you want to take it that far. It's definitely sacrifice. But I think LeBron James is definitely going to help out with that sacrifice. I feel like they can win a championship. If not
Mm-hmm.
this year, then definitely next year, where they kind of work out the kinks and definitely build that chemistry. But also, it's fair to say there's pressure to get it done now. And we talking about 76ers team and the city of Philadelphia who's hungry for a basketball championship. Like they just witnessed their strong rivals, the Knicks,
Oh
win the
yeah.
title. Yeah, and see what they're doing for New York City, for the Five Boroughs, for the Knicks organization. And I think they almost what like 50 years since they've won the championship. The
Yeah, the
76.
Knicks waited 53 years. The Sixers, the last time they won was Moses Malone and the Sixers when they swept the Lakers back in '83. That was when that was when Moses Malone was the MVP of the league that year. Like he just came from I think he was just traded to the Sixers from the Rockets like the year before, and like that was the seismic shift. And then like once he came to the Sixers, like he put them over the top, and then that's where they made that dominant run where Dr. J finally got his ring. So
Yeah.
since it's been 1983, so that's 40. So it's been 43 years since the Sixers last won a championship.
Woo, 43. And then they haven't been to the finals since what, 2001? Was it
Hmm
2001 when they went up against the Lakers? So, hey, they've been starving for it. A lot
That
of
was the
dismal
last time
years.
they. That was the last time they got out of round two. Like
Oh,
2001,
wow.
they haven't been past the second round since 2001
Damn.
as an
Now, yeah,
organization.
Yeah, damn, that's crazy, man. Now I think they're gonna do that this year. They're gonna get past second round at least. But let's wrap this up. Talk about LeBron's legacy. Now, his legacy is already set in stone as far as like him being at worst, top 5 all time. At the
Yes.
absolute worst.
Yeah.
Now, let's think about the grand prize here. If they reach that, LeBron James, that'll be his fifth ring with his fourth different franchise at age 42, 43. Won it with a 76ers team that, like you said, they've been starving for 4 decades for a championship. Will a championship with the 76ers, whether that's this coming season or next season, have LeBron as the undisputed, unquestioned, undeniable GOAT in NBA history?
I mean, possibly, but here's the thing: like, if he's not the best player on this championship team, like, would this like carry as much weight? Would that carry as much weight? Because let me give you an example. Like, because when it comes to Kobe's championships, a lot of people like don't give him put as much weight to his first 3 championships because he wasn't like Finals MVP or even though there was a couple of years where he was averaging like, even though 2 of those years he was averaging almost as much as Shaq, even during the playoffs, but but obviously, Shaq, was still like that dominant force, during those first 3 championships. So a lot of people don't like, put like as much weight to those first 3 championships when it comes to Kobe. So like, let's say like if, you know, LeBron is not considered the best player on those teams, would with him not being the best player on this team, on this Sixer team, would that be a mark against him when it comes to that? Now, me personally, I think like if you're a heavy contributor like to a championship team, like I don't necessarily discredit like people's rings like that. Like I don't discredit Kobe's rings in that sense. Like him, what he provides on a leadership perspective, I would definitely put a lot of weight into this Sixer championship myself. But the thing is that I think there would still be I don't think it would necessarily make it undisputed just for the simple fact that like I still think that if he wasn't considered the best player on the Sixers team, I think there would be some that would put it a knock against him. But now the thing is LeBron has all the records on his side when it comes to statistically. So like when it comes to his like argument when it comes to the greatest of all time debate, he's gonna have those statistical numbers on his side when it comes to like him being the all time leading scorer. I don't know if he's gonna break John Stockton's assist record, but he may end up. But I think he could very well end up like at least like second when it comes to all time assists. I think this season he just broke like the field goals made record as well. So I mean, the numbers are going to be on his side when it comes to like his statistical categories. Now, like obviously Jordan averaged 30 and still average and still was at about like a roughly relatively efficient clip as well. For a good chunk of his years, and Jordan. The main thing that Jordan that I'm always going to have on his side is that the dude three-peated twice. Like three-peating twice is so damn hard. Like especially now in this parity era where it's like we haven't even had a back-to-back champion over 10 years. So it's like the more and more we get away from folks like three-peating and going back to back, it's like, man, it's like he three-peated twice. Like I don't know if like the Sixer championship would still make it undisputed, but in my opinion, like I still think it. I mean, a Sixer championship, like him winning a championship on 4 different franchises, and especially breaking the Cleveland drought and the Sixers drought, that would definitely like I think it would definitely sweeten the deal to LeBron's argument.
I want to say yes, because just you think about the whole scope of the situation, like 4 different franchises in 1 or 2 years you did it, and then these franchises they went a decade or more without a championship. Then you to Cleveland, they ain't win one at all. They ain't even been close until LeBron got there. And then if you think about the Miami Heat now, their drought, quote unquote, wasn't as long, but we also talking about a team that kind of maxed out after the championship they won against the Mavericks in '06. I want to say yes, like as fan of the game, just watching LeBron follow his career, like because that's just amazing. Like you just everywhere you go, you win, and you elevate the franchise. Have them make more money than ever, have them be more valuable than ever. Then influenced a lot of great players on your way. The only argument that because people are always gonna have this argument about Jordan, the only thing that will go against LeBron that will go for Jordan is Jordan did everything in 15 years. And like I said,
Hmm.
he three-peated twice, 6 championships, versus LeBron would take him 25 years, 24, 25 years for 5 rings. But also, you can't blame LeBron for that because the parity is stronger, the teams are more competitive. Every team, damn near every team in the NBA has like an all-star caliber player on there, which was not true in the Jordan days. At least I don't think so. I think at the very least, it definitely makes the argument harder.
Hmm.
And it definitely gives LeBron another boost as why he is the GOAT in the NBA. But in my opinion, he's number two. Like definitely number two. Like he goes no lower than that. I think he's closer to Jordan than what a lot of people, especially the older heads, will put him at.